Welcome to Decoding the Keys to Health, a podcast dedicated to exploring health and wellness from a natural, holistic viewpoint. Join our host, esteemed nutritionist and New York Times bestselling author, Ann Louise Gittleman, along with James Templeton, a 35-year cancer survivor and the founder of Uni Key Health, as they share their more than 5 decades of combined experience. In each episode, these luminaries of alternative healing will unpack the complexities of today's most challenging health issues, providing you with science-backed insights and wisdom you can trust. Whether you're embarking on a health journey, seeking to enhance your wellness, or simply driven by curiosity, you've tuned into the right resource. And now, let's delve in and decode the keys to health with Ann Louise and James.
Hello, everyone. This is James Templeton, founder of Uni Key Health, and I'm here with the First Lady of Nutrition, Ann Louise Gittleman. Hello, Ann Louise.
Hello, James.
And welcome to Decoding the Keys to Health. We're here, on a regular basis talking about different issues, but there's one issue that if you took probably 8 or 9 out of 10 people, this would be an issue that they're dealing with and they don't even realize it. This is an issue that's affecting their overall health, affecting their metabolism, affecting their aches and pains, creating that, affecting their brain, affecting their memory, affecting everything, just about everything that you want to talk about or think about. And something that we talk about on a regular basis. And it's a real problem. And what it is something called parasites. And you've heard us talk about that a lot and over the years. And you just can't talk about it enough. Parasites. And another thing that goes right along with it is Candida. And that's Candida is like a fungus that's in your body. Candida overgrowth and parasites. These are some of the most immunosuppressive things you can have in your body. And I'm telling you that most of you have this. And I work a lot with cancer people. With my foundation, Templeton Wellness, and I interview people and I talk to people all the time that have cancer. Now, I never tell people, oh, I know you have this or that. I don't work with them like that, but I suggest that they get tested some way, somehow, and figure it out, because everybody that I ever saw under a microscope that I've done for years and years and years for research. I do a special type of analysis with my microscope. I studied with a master many years ago, and I use this just to determine for my own self and determine for friends sometimes, but also I've done it for years to just to understand what the majority of people needed. At one point, I did my own studies with people that had cancer, for example, and people that had AIDS. And, I wasn't working with them like, oh, I'm going to, give you this remedy or that remedy. I just wanted to see what their blood looked like. And nearly every one of those people had the same type issues, underlying issues, I think, that caused their problem. And the biggest problem of all was usually parasites, and it was the Candida problem. Now, I didn't see the actual parasites. I see risk factors, and I studied with a Dr. Robert Bradford, which was renowned for his development of the Bradford microscope system that he developed. And that's who I studied with. But the thing about it is, Ann Louise, is that I never saw a person that had cancer that didn't have parasites.
Well,
I learned from Dr. Hermann Bueno, and I talk about this in my book, I Used to Have Cancer. And Ann Louise knows, because I met Ann Louise right before that time, and she actually went with me to see Dr. Hermann Bueno in New York City. And Dr. Bueno told me back then, he said, I have never seen a case of cancer or AIDS. And the AIDS was just getting started back then. And, you don't hear about it as much nowadays, but back then it was a big deal. And that did not have some kind of parasitic involvement.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he told me that, and I started thinking about all these friends I had and other people that had most likely had parasites, and I knew they had cancer of some sorts. Now, I found that very interesting. So every time I got a chance that someone had cancer, I was living in Montana at the time. I wanted to look at their blood. If they were willing just to let me look at their blood, I wanted to see what it looked like, because I was told things when I studied with Dr. Bradford. I wanted to see it for my own self. So I saw that, and I just, there was a very strong risk factor for parasites and a very strong issue with Candida albicans. And there was a lot of other things too. Heavy metal toxicity was a big one. Most of these people all had heavy metal toxicity, especially mercury toxicity, because a lot of times we would actually follow up when we did hair analysis and other kinds of testing back then, as we do today, that would show that these people actually did have, the mercury toxicity level. A lot of them had mercury amalgams, had issues like that in their teeth, along with they were eating too much fish and a lot of other things that were creating mercury, and just there's a lot of mercury just in the atmosphere. So this was a big problem. But the thing, Ann Louise, that I found that was so important is when people would go on a parasite cleanse and people would go on a yeast-free diet for 2 or 3 months and maybe do some remedies for the yeast, and then also get on some kind of a remedy for heavy metal toxicity and start to detoxify. After 2 to 3 months, these people look like a different person under the microscope. Mm-hmm. It was like their immune system was active again. Their immune system wasn't asleep at the wheel. Their immune system wasn't, just dragging along, not doing its job. And, that's a key factor, because when you have these immunosuppressive things like we're talking about, how in the world can your immune system do the job it's supposed to do? A healthy person has a strong, healthy immune system. Don't you agree?
Yes, 100%. But I didn't know if you remembered that Dr. Bueno actually did the foreword to one of my books.
I think so, yes. And tell us about that book.
Guess what came to dinner?
Guess what came to dinner? And that,
Parasites in Your House.
That was the first book that I remember that I ever saw that was on the subject of parasites.
Well, you told me to do the book.
Well, because I was so excited to find that I had parasites, and I was loaded with parasites.
And it could be the answer to your issues.
And who knows? Because I did detoxify those parasites out, and I went back to Dr. Bueno. It took me 3 months. I went back, and he goes, "You're parasite free." He says, "But you have to be very careful, because you'll probably get it again many times in your lifetime if you don't be extra careful."
Yeah.
And he told me, he says, "You're eating raw salads, you're eating raw food.
He wasn't in favor of that.
You're working in your garden, you're digging in the earth, just like your animals." And he mentioned back then, he says, "Look, I have never, seen a person with cancer that didn't have parasites."
Yeah, but
well, that got my attention, like somebody knocking me in the back of the head or something.
Because you were a cancer victim.
But, he also said, Ann Louise, the first thing a veterinarian does is check for parasites.
It's the last thing.
And the last thing a doctor does. And we talk about that.
But James, can I insert this?
Yes.
Dr. Bueno also connected parasites to chronic fatigue, hypoadrenalism, hypothyroidism, upper respiratory issues, and a depressed libido. I wonder what he could do for this voice.
I don't know, but
could be parasites.
Yeah.
So in this case, what would you suggest I do?
Well, what I would suggest
Physician,
is
heal thyself.
Cleanse, Key and Verma Plus. And the thing about it is we've changed the name of that.
What are we calling it now?
It was the
colon cleanse.
Cleanse.
It's a 30-day parasite cleanse.
30-day parasite cleanse now.
And what do you take?
Well, you take the Key, which is the capsule. You take it before meals. You take it usually about 20 to 30 minutes before you eat. And then you take the Key between meals. Let's just say if you eat breakfast at 8 o'clock, You take it at 10 in the morning, 10 or 11 in the morning. You want to take it at least 30 minutes to an hour before you eat. So you want to take it, let's just say,
And
10:30 in the morning.
what's in this that makes it so special?
Well, it's got all the traditional herbs that are important. It's got something that you always promote a lot of, and it's cranberry concentrate.
And why do we put that
Because
in
it's
there?
rich in organic acids that aid digestion, and that's just a good pH balancer also.
So you don't
because
get tired when you're on
No,
this.
a lot of these herbs are very alkalinizing on a
makes you
cell level that
exhausted.
makes you feel sleepy.
But not on our product.
No, but it also has grapefruit seed extract, which is a powerful antimicrobial substance that destroys a lot of the bacteria. It destroys
Virus
yes, virus, but it's also
and
something
protozoa.
that kills fungus in the body. Also, it's very helpful for yeast, but it's very detrimental to parasites. And there's pomegranate in there, a time honored fruit for ridding the system of tapeworms.
Which is
And
so
peppermint,
prevalent.
which is respected herb that helps reduce flatulence. And it's also reduces protozoa infestation.
We all need that.
Yeah, so we're a little parasite crazy today, folks, and we talk about this, but I told
We
Ann
live
Louise
it morning,
that
noon,
we
and
need to
night.
talk about this more and more because we want to tell you some testimonials and things like that in a minute. But it also has wormwood in there, and it's a particular type of wormwood. It's called sweet wormwood, and it's internationally recognized for eliminating microorganisms, which is what we're talking about. One-celled organisms, amoeba, giardia, blastocystis. You know, these are the
Cyclospora.
yeah, it goes on and on, but these are the basic ones that you hear about the most.
You're talking about Parakey.
I'm talking about Parakey, the capsule. Now we've got Burma Plus. Burma Plus is a liquid tincture. It's very bitter, I guess you could say, and it's strong, but that's okay. That's what the parasites don't like. And we want to get those dang critters out of there, as you say. But the thing is it has black walnut hulls, which are great for expelling intestinal waste and other organisms like the parasites, especially, and wormwood, just basic wormwood for the elimination of worms from the body.
And the most important element that no other product in the world contains is centaury. And why did you put that in there, James?
Because of the problem with hookworms and tapeworms
and flukes,
and it releases those. It really does. I mean, it makes them almost like nauseous, and they can't.
It makes them
hang on.
They
release their hooks and their suckers.
It makes them drunk,
and I guess it does because after taking these products for 2 weeks,
all kinds of stuff.
We've seen all kinds of things in a colonic tube from people, and it's amazing. And I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Sometimes people go, well, I got tested, I didn't find anything,
but I took your product.
And we do offer parasite testing, and a lot of people want to see something. I agree with that, but I can tell you, Ann Louise knows as well as I know, that when you do a colonic after someone's been on this cleanse for a couple of weeks, it's just taking one of these products, things start to release. You start to see it in the colonic tube, which is a clear tube that you could actually see when something's coming out of you and going down the drain. So it's a very
belief.
Yes, and when you see it. But there's another thing that's very, very important in this particular formula, and I'm talking about the Burma Plus, and it is called butternut. Butternut is an herb, but it's especially important because a lot of people, and especially children, have something called pinworms. Pinworms are the kind of worms that basically get active at night and sometimes end up on a sheet, or in the bed with the child and our adults. And it's very contagious, very, very, a lot of passed on to one to another. And these are hard to get rid of. So butternut is very important because it is very, very
specific for pinworms,
toxic to pinworms. And so I love that. And we've also got male fern in that product, which is great for
Tapeworm.
for everything, but also the orange peel adds in digestion, circulation, promotes peristalsis. So that's important for your colon when you're eliminating. And then we also think that it's important, probably after a couple of weeks of being on this cleanse, to take Key, because you start to really strip out all of your good bacteria in your gut, and you start to it doesn't necessarily get irritated, but it's important to start putting some of the good bacteria, because a lot of the reasons you have parasites in the first place is because you've got an environment that
It's conducive.
Yes, conducive for them to live in.
But you know something, let everybody know, there's one thing that we tell people that they question. When you're on the parasite formula, you don't take a lot of B vitamins or antioxidants.
No, not a lot of vitamin C and all that.
The reason is you don't want to strengthen the parasites, folks. You want to weaken them, and B vitamins strengthen them as do antioxidants.
There's some reason.
So for 2 weeks, you keep that out of your diet, just two weeks.
And this is something we've learned. This is not something we just started working with. We've been working with this myself for 35 years, Ann Louise for probably nearly 50 years.
Oh my God.
Well, because you've been a nutritionist for a lot longer than I.
What year did I meet Dr. Parcells? 74.
1974.
Is that 50 years ago?
It's pretty close to it, yeah.
Oh my God.
So the thing is, Ann Louise's teacher, Dr. Hazel Parcells, which was, I mean, you'd never met anyone like this. There's not a person, I've never met anybody to this day that was as knowledgeable as her and could hold a candle to her, as Ann Louise said. She was unbelievable. When I met her, she was over 100 years old. She was not, using a walker. She wasn't in a wheelchair. She wasn't living in a nursing home. She was living alone, she drove her car until she was 100 and decided not to drive anymore because maybe it wasn't the best thing, for liability issues. That's according to her attorney. And Dr. Parcells was a real master. And, she came from almost dying at the age of 42 from tuberculosis. And then she started to study and learn. I mean, we had no internet. We had no, nothing now. All the books and everything you have now
compared to what we have
she
now.
Just learned it intuitively, a lot of this, and was kind of she was the teacher to the masters. She was the true master, I believe, to this day. And so Ann Louise was probably her favorite student, or one of her favorite students, and one of her probably most successful students. I got to spend time with her myself and sat next to her, just to observe and to listen to her and kind of act like a sponge a little bit for quite a few different times. So it was quite a treat for me, and it inspired me to learn. And she always said that the first thing, you want to get rid of the parasites, because if you don't, the body's not going to absorb. You're throwing a lot of money at things, taking the magic bullets that everybody's talking about out there, and you're not really getting to the root of the problem. And that's why I called Uni Key Health, your universal key to health, because I knew that, you have to get to the root, like Dr. Parcells said. If you don't, then you're never going to get to first base. And that's why we do that. We want to clean up from the ground up. We want to rebuild. Then we want to maintain health. But the only way you're going to do that is to get to the root. So, folks, we're not just saying this, trying to make a pitch for anything. We're telling you that it's a real problem. It's overlooked more than ever these days. There's more of this going on than ever.
Why do you think? That's the big question. Why is it so prevalent?
Well, just look at the world we live in. Everybody is, it's a toxic world that we live in. There's people coming from all over the world, third world countries, everywhere, working in restaurants, working in different facilities, A lot of these people have had parasites, and Americans have parasites just as bad. We used to think, oh, you're getting it from Mexico, or you're getting it from, they used to go to Mexico and you'd get something, they'd say, oh, you have turista. Well, it's not that, it's amoeba is what it is. You get sick, you get you get the runs, you're nauseous, you're sick, you're maybe even throwing up. Sometimes you get giardia, especially when you go in the mountains somewhere and you're out, is that what they call it?
I used to call it beaver fever.
But it's, you're not going to be able to have a very good vacation, folks, if you go down to Mexico and I've never been to Mexico, for example, and not felt, off when I got home.
True.
And I don't know why, but it's usually I go on a parasite cleanse just for the sake of it when I get home.
Read the testimonials.
So we've got a lot of people that have done testimonials on these particular products and the overall subject. And I'll tell you, we've even had people that lost 100 pounds after they got off of a parasite cleanse because they couldn't before. They were holding on to, to everything, and their metabolism was.
But it can go
down.
Either way.
Yeah, it can go either way. You can gain weight if you need to, or lose weight. And we actually have had many stories like this. But here's one here that someone said that this combination is a must-have. This is the second time I have used this cleanse.
They're talking about Vermin Plus and
if you follow the directions. Now, this is talking about the parasite cleansing. Last time I used it was 10 years ago. I've lost 7 pounds and feel healthier. I am determined to fix my issues holistically and incorporate the tips given in my daily routine. Well, that's a pretty good idea, a testimony of someone that has seen good results and realizes that they need to continue to do this. And, here I'm so thankful for this product. The first day showed ample results. It has also cleared my skin over the weeks. Well, I guess they had skin issues. A lot of times you have these skin that's breaking out, almost like acne. Don't you, Ann Louise?
Dermatitis, acne, rosacea, because the skin is a second liver, and these things are very toxic to the liver. So when you take these, explain to people how to take them. The 2 weeks on, 5 days off, 2 weeks on, 5 days off.
Yes.
And then they take it during
full moon.
They take it during the 5-day full moon window,
yes.
Which means that after they're finished with the course of treatment, they finish up with 2 days before the full moon, day of, and 2 days after.
Here's somebody that says, I was feeling overall fatigue, headaches, abdominal pain, and bloating. After taking the products as recommended, I have felt like a new person. No more of any of the symptoms I was experiencing, and my energy is now at a new level. I have shown my doctor, and he agrees that these products contain the best ingredients to help get rid of the parasites once and for all. Well, Dr. Bueno used to say that he could give us drugs, like when I had the parasites, and I had 3 different types of parasites. And he told me, he says, I can give you drugs, but it doesn't work the same way as the herbs. So I ended up going on an herbal cleanse, which is what we have here, and an herbal cleanse with, 35 years of experience, these particular formulas that we have. And we haven't changed it because we don't need
They
to.
embody over 50 years of
Yes.
experience.
So it's a big deal. A lot of people are having these pains, or every time you eat, you're having digestive issues. Yeah, sometimes you need other things, but this is probably one of the culprits you really need to look at. And
So how many times
you need to read Ann Louise's book,
Of
Guess What
course.
Came to Dinner.
Guess what came to? But how many times?
How do they get that book?
Online? They get it
From Amazon?
Yes.
So, it's a great book. It's going to change your life, this book. And I tell you, Guess What Came to Dinner.
And it's as relevant.
Great title.
It's as relevant now as when it was published years ago.
Yes. But, we also talked a little bit today about the Candida, and that's a big thing. A lot of you have Candida.
what do we
Most
do?
people have an overgrowth. Well, we use the YC cleanse. We also use the Uni Key. We also suggest that people go on a yeast-free diet,
For
like 2.5 months. Like what diet am I talking about?
yes, you're talking about fat flush.
Fat flush what?
Phase 1.
Phase 1. So fat flush phase 1 will get your sugar down to a level to where your candida won't be very happy anymore in your system. And so it's very important. Here's a testimonial from a lady, and she talks about, this is about the candida issues. After letting my consumption of carbs and sugar get out of control in January, I developed problems with candida overgrowth. I immediately started taking YC cleanse every morning as is directed on the bottle. I continued for about 6 weeks. That and decreasing my carbs and sugar has completely gotten my candida under control, and I'm back to good health again. So that's exactly what happens. You know, you got to go through it. You'll have some die off for a few days on and off with both of these products. You know, it's not like, oh, I just feel wonderful after one day. It takes a little time.
Of course,
the parasite cleansing
detoxing.
took me 3 months the first time, but it's like you're taking a break, 2 weeks on, a few days
5
off,
days
5
off.
days. Sometimes I would take 2 days off. Some people take 5. You just got to, you know, see how you feel. But you'll have days to where you feel really great, and then the next day you're eliminating a lot.
That's right.
And then the next day you feel great again. There's pockets of elimination. So just to let people know, and it's the same way with the candida. And, you know, it's a good thing. So Ann Louise is laughing over here, but it's really very important. But
you feel like
but you know, we want to talk more and more about all this. This is a real problem. I wouldn't even talk about it if it wasn't.
We live this and love this stuff.
And you know, we get tested all the time for parasites, and usually end up doing a cleanse a couple of times a year. I do. It's just because, you know, you're out, you eat salads. What's going to kill the eggs and the larvae? I mean, they're not Clorox in this food out there, as Ann Louise talked about in one of her books. And a lot of people don't, oh, Clorox, oh my God, that's poison, you know. But I'm just telling you that, you know, when you go out into lettuce fields, there's rabbits out there, they're full of like rabbit flukes and things like that.
Very unappetizing.
They might be cute little cottontails, but I tell you what,
they're not when they come into your system.
Oh yeah. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you want good health and you want a strong immune system,
this is a must.
It is a must. And I guess it's for the people that really care about themselves, because I think a lot of people really don't care the way they should. And let's be honest, or they wouldn't be looking for that one magic bullet out there that everybody's trying to sell. There's so many marketers out there that they've got the magic bullet that does everything. And folks, if there is one, I'd like to see it.
So if you want to biohack your health, let's use some of this current terminology. Biohack your health. You can do it with Parasite and Vermiplus.
Let's see, and we've renamed it, and
the 30-day parasite.
Yeah,
cleanse.
and I keep thinking about the old one, but it is the 30-day.
And for some people, it can be 90 days.
Yes, I don't think 30 days is near enough.
It's not enough.
I think 2 months is probably average, and sometimes 3. I've had people that had to do this for 6 months, almost a year. Some people, they were people that had lived in certain parts of the world, and I mean, they just couldn't get there. They were passing these things for that long
consistently.
Yes, and they've retested. You know, so many people want to see it, but you don't have to get tested to know. It doesn't hurt you to do a cleanse. And you will start to see things if you're curious, like I am, and want to really see. Just take a look. You know, you'll see things, and a lot of strings and things like that. That it's not fiber from lettuce.
What do they look like?
Well, they
look,
well, okay. Here we had a lady that was a wonderful lady, and is now a great friend of ours that we talked to and hadn't talked to her in a couple of years. And she used to work for us at Uni Key many years ago. And so here we are catching up. And she says, oh my God, I've been feeling a little off. And I went on a parasite cleanse. And she said, I'm not telling you, I hate to tell you this. And she says, I'm telling you the truth. But she says, I passed something, it looked like a garter snake.
Oh my God.
She said, it is like, it was unbelievable. And this has just been a
And
few
she-
weeks ago when we talked to her.
But she couldn't gain weight. She had
Yeah.
lost a tremendous amount.
She
of
just
weight.
wasn't feeling well. And, you know, her immune system was down and everything else. And she passed that and a lot of other stuff. And I said, oh my God, what cleanse were you on? You know, I'm like,
She said, you're a
she
cleanse.
said, your cleanse, who else is? So anyway, I remember that very, very
distinctly.
Yeah, because it hadn't been that long ago, but you know, this thing, like this huge worm, and I didn't see it. She said she had
Wish she had taken pictures.
yeah, she had it though. Didn't she keep it in something? I don't know.
I don't
But you know,
know.
we have over the years have gotten people send us jars and with actual worms in the jars. It's, you know, I mean, it doesn't gross me out because I know it's a problem. And you know, it's a real problem. I used to have cattle and dogs and hogs and cats, and I would
But you-
deworm all these animals. And
But you
like I
know
said,
something?
Ann Louise, every time I went to the veterinarian, that's the first thing he looked for. And I said, why don't doctors check for this? He goes, that's a good question. I remember him saying that. He said, it just makes sense that they would, doesn't it? And I said, yeah, you got to beg them almost to take a,
So
you know,
where
poop in a cup, basically, type test, which isn't any good anyway.
where can people get the test?
Well, they can get it at Uni Key, unikeyhealth.com. Of course, check out our testing, check out the products we talked about,
Check out Guess What Came to Dinner.
and check out Guess What Came to Dinner. Educate yourself. There's no better way to educate yourself than Ann Louise's book, Guess What Came to Dinner. What else? Anything else you want to say, Ann Louise?
No, thank you. No more sushi.
Okay, so why?
Loaded with worms.
From fish. Okay, everyone. Well,
You can cut it out.
I think we had enough fun today. So fun with a serious subject. And I'm so glad that everyone is going to get Ann Louise's book, Guess What Came to Dinner, and that's your homework assignment. So, I mean, it's going to be one of the best things you ever did for yourself. And I don't even know if the book's not that expensive. What is the book out there now cost?
I don't know.
Probably under $20, right?
Best investment ever.
So check it out and check out our products that we talked about and other products. But we appreciate everyone. This is James Templeton and Ann Louise Gittleman, First Lady of Nutrition.
Adios, amigos.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Take care, everyone.